It all comes down to this. One weekend, 2 races remaining of the ADAC GT Masters season 2022. It is possible that we may see the new champion crowned today because Raffaele Marciello, who came into this weekend with a 42-point lead over Christian Engelhardt and Ian Changuven, has extended that lead by another 3 points, courtesy of putting the Yellow Mamba on pole position. His championship rivals, the only 2 drivers that could defeat him in his quest to take the championship this year. Christian Engelhardt and Ian Changuven have qualified down in 5th place. The bottom line is that Raffaele Marciello needs to finish in 8th place or better. If he does that, the championship is his whatever. Christian Engelhardt and Ian Changuven need to finish in the top 2. It is a tall stretch, isn't it, Adam Weller?
It's a tall stretch indeed. Engelhardt and Guven, as you said, need to finish in the top 2 to get the championship into even tomorrow's qualifying. If they win the race today, then yes, Raffaele Marciello will have to finish 8th or better. If they don't win the race, if they come 2nd, I think it goes down to 13th, provisional commentator maths. But in general, Raffaele Marciello is in the championship hot seat right now. And I could tell, I saw him in the paddock earlier on, congratulated him on a good time in quali, and you could tell that he was feeling a confident man. He's been very hasty in press conferences to shoot down the fact that the championship was all but finished. It's like, yeah, but if I score 0, what's going to happen? But I'm getting the feeling that he's starting to believe.
And believe he has been doing all year long because, of course, Raffaele Marciello won the GT World Challenge Europe Championship earlier on this year. There's a friend of his there, Jules Gounon, but competitor for this event, along with Fabian Schiller, they are starting 3rd on the grid. The conditions are perfect. We are at the Hockenheimring. It's a great circuit, a legendary circuit in the Rhine Valley near Hockenheim in Baden-Württemberg. We've got the abacus out on the table for all the points connotations because it isn't just the Drivers' Championship, there is a Team Championship, and that is most certainly far from over because that man there might have something to do with the Team Championship, as indeed might Albert Costa Balboa, who we saw just now. Emil Frey Racing and Manfilter Team Landgraf are absolutely level at the top of the point standings, 181 points each. Only 1 car from each team, the highest finishing car, can score points, so this one will go down to the wire. We also have a junior championship. Ben Green has one hand on that one. Mathematically, still in contention is Konsta Labalainen, who we just saw, and Mick Wieshofer and Jan Marszałkowski, but they are going to need Ben Green to have the most awful weekend if they're going to get their hands on the junior championship title. Weirdly, the drivers that are 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th in the junior championship are out of the running. The drivers that are 6th, 7th and 8th are still in it. You might wonder how on earth that is possible, and it is because due to the driver categories, the drivers in 6th, 7th and 8th are allowed to multiply their score by 1.5. Complicated much as if I needed any more confusion, but the junior championship, we're going to have one eye on that. We're going to have one eye on the Team Championship and, of course, the big one, the Drivers' Championship. It has always, in the past, gone down to the last corner of the last race, certainly in the last few years, but it could be that Raffaele Marciello will go in tomorrow as the new champion.
Correct. You did just imply that you have 3 eyes, though, so that's very interesting. I'm curious about that.
Go there.
Nicholas Cruton, of course, he can't win the Junior Championship despite being 2nd, as he is Ben Green's teammate. He had a great season, though, in the ELMS, which is his dueling campaign with GT Masters. So I think regardless of the fact he can't challenge for this title, he's going to be a happy man at the end of this 2022 season and has made good progress throughout the year relative to Ben Green, who has looked incredibly strong in the new for 2022 M4 GT3 all year long. Arthur Rougier, the 3rd of 3 Emil Frey Lamborghinis, all 3 3 cars in the top 10, validating what many people said in the paddock, and that is that this is a quintessential Lamborghini circuit. Less so, though, an Audi circuit. The first of them, Luca Engstler, in 9th place. They have more wins at this venue than anywhere else. Frankly, that's often from strength in numbers in the early 2010s. But nonetheless, the Audi's not quite at the sharp end.
And it was Lamborghinis that took both wins at this event last year in the hands of Mirko Bortolotti and Marco Mappelli in race 1, and Rolf van Eycken and Frank Pereira in race 2. Well, 2 of those drivers are here in this race. Of course, it was GRT Grasser, then Emil Frey Racing and Paul Motorsport fielding the Lamborghinis for this event. There is the outgoing champion, well, the car of the outgoing champion. It's Tim Zimmerman who kicks off behind the wheel of that, but Christopher Mies, the 2021 champion, along with the number 29 of Ricardo Feller, and both of those are the outgoing champions. We will have a new name on the trophy for this year, although Christian Engelhardt, if he were to do it, he did win in 2020, so he could become a 2-times winner, but we will see what happens there. Joel Sturm, who has entertained us all season long. Now, in the other parish notices, we would like to welcome to the grid for 2022 for the guesting for the final event of the season, Team ADAC Motorsport. That's a name from the history of GT Masters. They were here right at the start in 2007. They were in a Porsche in those days. ADAC Motorsport then moved on to a Mercedes in 2012. Now they're in an Audi, and they are back. They are looking to do a full campaign next year, so a bit of a toe in the water. We have Frederick Vervisch, who is a multiple winner in GT3 racing, and of course a winner in the Nürburgring 24-hour race this year, alongside Robin Rogowski. And those who watch the ADAC GT4 category will remember him from that series. And they are in the number 77 ADAC Motorsport Audi, and they are a welcome addition to the grid.
Very much so, yeah. They've been active in GT racing for the entire time they've been away from GT Masters, elsewhere in German competition, elsewhere within the ADAC family of championships in the GTC series, running GT3 and GT4 cars. They want to make that step back up for 2023, so it's an exploratory weekend, and we'll see where they pan out. They're going to be starting on the back row of the grid, but they've got a very strong driver pairing. Let's see what they can do.
Marvin Dienst will be starting a long way back on the grid, along with his teammate Jan Marszałkowski. Jan Marszałkowski in that pink Mercedes in the background there is the latest GT Masters race winner, and that car is carrying a 20-kilogram success penalty. I'll teach him to win races, won't it? The car on pole position is carrying a 10-kilogram success penalty on account of finishing second at Sachsenring last time out, and Max Paul and Marco Mappelli carrying 5 kilos extra. The success penalty for the 1, 2, 3, whoever wins the race today will have 20 kilos tomorrow. I think Marciello wouldn't care one bit if he can step off pole position and bring this thing home on the top step of the podium. He'll say, put whatever penalty you want on me, because he'll be the champion by then. We are getting ready to go very shortly. That's the car that brings up the rear of the grid, the East Talent Racing Team Audi, with Simon Riker at the wheel. They're a team that have been here all season long, have been solid and consistent, but very, very shortly the engines will burst into life and we will be ready to start the formation lap. We are at the Hockenheimring. It is a circuit that is 4.5 kilometers around. This is the grid. Raffaele Marciello and Albert Costa Balboa on the front row. Fabian Schiller and Konsta Lappalainen on row 2. Row 3 of the grid, and it's Christian Engelhardt and Max Paul, Lamborghini and Porsche alongside each other. Then Niklas Kruten in the BMW with another Lamborghini, Arthur Rougier alongside. Row 5 of the grid, Luca Engstler and Thierry Vermeulen making it an all-Audi row. And then row 6, Tim Zimmerman and Joel Sturm. It's Audi alongside Porsche. Row 7, Florian Spengler and another of the Yellow Mambas. It's Frankie Bird, and they line up alongside each other. Then it's row 8, Yusufa Vega and Kim Louis Schramm. On row 9 of the grid, Marvin Dienst and Nicky Gatzberg. Long way back for Nicky after a difficult qualifying session. And then the guesting Robin Rogowski and Simon Riker. We are missing one car, the number 28 Monteplas by Land Motorsport Audi. Christopher Haase and Salman Vega were due to be taking the wheel of that, but in practice on Thursday, I think it was, Salman Vega had a bit of a moment. They've bent the chassis on that car and it will not be starting this race. Such a shame.
Yeah, huge shame. Before we even really started putting official timing up on our screens on Thursday in private testing, the car unfortunately having some minor chassis damage, but you can't take a risk, especially on the front of the car with a chassis damage, so they decided to withdraw for the weekend. A disappointing end to the championship for Ovega and Haase, but I'm sure they'll be back better and stronger in 2023. I'm not sure it can even officially be called ADAC GT Masters if Christopher Haase isn't on the grid at this point. He's very much part of the furniture.
He really is the original winner, the original champion, and Christopher Haase, a real character, and it's a real shame that he is not going to be lining up for this. Kai Abel, who gives the instruction for the drivers to start their engines. We are 1 minute away from this, which will be race 13 of this 14 race season. Conditions are absolutely perfect after a very wet Thursday and Friday here at the Hockenheimring. Today it is bright and sunny, no rain is anticipated, 18.1 degrees centigrade. The track temperature is 24.8, so conditions absolutely perfect at this legendary circuit, a circuit that is 4.574 kilometers around. There we go, that's the full amount. 2.842 miles. It has 17 turns, 9 to the right and 8 to the left. Keep an eye out for turn 6, the hairpin. It is a very heavy braking area into the hairpin. It is a spot that courts controversy. We have seen many an incident there over the years. It's a great overtaking spot going into the corner, but we've seen many drivers coming unstuck at that particular point. The cars are rolling and we are starting the formation lap.
So many what ifs coming into this race. What if this is the day that Raffaele Marciello secures the championship? What if Engelhardt and Guven perform a master stroke and just about keep it going into Sunday? There are a few certainties as well. Turn 1, they'll all fan out onto the runoff area. We'll cross the 10,000 lap marker across the season and pass over the €40,000 threshold in the race lap for Wales and Africa early in the race as well. So that fun racing program will continue on. And as you said, turn 6, always sure to be a lively one. Hold on tight on lap number 1.
Keep an eye on track limits as well. Turn 1 has caught many drivers out already this weekend. The stewards are keeping an eye on track limits into turn 1 and turn 11 as well. That's another corner where we've seen drivers exceeding track limits. Now you've got a good view here coming off the Parabolica, which is, well, turn 5. It's called turn 5. I'm not aware of anybody lifting off for it. And then look how tight this is. This is the hairpin of turn 6 as we ride on board with Christian Engelhardt, just working to get some heat into the tyres. Of course, tyre warmers not allowed in ADAC GT Masters, but that corner there, that is going to be an exciting corner all race long. Drivers now working hard to get heat into the tyres, into the brakes. There is a massive crowd of people here to witness this race this weekend. It took me ages to walk through the paddock this morning, and they are going to be entertained as we get ready for racing in just a few moments.
Very, very busy crowd. Lots of spectators, lots of motor racing dignitaries in the paddock as well to witness the final weekend of ADAC GT Masters, be it Bernd Schneider, be it Mauro Engel, many more in the paddock, keeping a watchful eye. And now is certainly when all eyes will be peeled on turn 1. We're moments away from going racing.
So the cars gridding up side by side. In a moment they will come around turn 16 and 17. That is another difficult corner. There is a drag strip that runs along that corner when we're not racing on the circuit, and it is unbelievably slippery. It's a corner that catches drivers out. That is the one that we're talking about there. You can see the drag strip on the right-hand side. But now we are getting ready to go racing. The cars side by side. This is Hockenheim, round 7, the last round of the season, and we are racing ADAC GT Masters, and it's Marciello steps off pole position. Fabian Schiller slotting into second place, but now coming back at him is Albert Costa Balboa. The cars have all made it around that difficult turn 1, now into turns 2 and 3, and this is going to be very tricky, and it is Schiller who goes very wide, but Marciello stamping his authority on this race already, on board with Christian Engelhardt moving through. He knows what he's got to do, looking to the inside of the rest of the cars, fighting, bouncing off each other, looking for position. Now up towards that hairpin. Look at the lead that Raffaele Marciello has already. Into second place, Christian Engelhardt. He goes deep into the corner. He leads through a whole gaggle of cars. It looks like everybody's made it round the hairpin, but Marciello is already disappearing into the distance. Second place is Fabian Schiller.
I think Luca Engstler might have had some slight contact further back in the hairpin. He's side by side with one of the car collection Audis, and Engelhardt being tagged by Arthur Rougier there. So it goes from bad to worse for Christian Engelhardt as he continues to fight off. He's trying desperately to retain 5th position, but Rougier has got through into P5. Frankie Bird has had a magnificent start. He's trying for 8th place.
So both the yellow Mambas having a great start, but the one at the front is the one that matters. Raffaele Marciello, who's only won 1 race this season, and he still has that massive lead in the points championship. The driver in second place, Fabian Schiller, has won 3 races this season. It just goes to show consistency. Picking up points is what wins championships. Be careful of that black slippery strip on the outside. It is like ice down onto the pit straight to complete lap 1. It's Raffaele Marciello from Fabian Schiller, Albert Costa Balboa, constant lap of line and doing well in P4. Then Arthur Rougier, another of the Lamborghinis, ahead of Christian Engelhardt. He's too far back at the moment in 6th place. He's going to have to move forwards from there. And then Max Paul and Niklas Kruten, but look at all this fighting for position further back.
So much going on there. We've still got the Verstappen-backed car collection Motorsport 33 car, Thierry Vermeulen and Luca Engstler, Linus Stern in the pack. They were side by side heading into the Mercedes arena for the first time by, and we know what happens when GT3 cars go by the Mercedes arena based on recent events. Vermeulen going defensive there. It's a lot of Audis down at the back end of the order. 5 Audis in a row from about 13th place back, and Marvin Dienst as well. He hasn't gone through the field like I was expecting. 2, almost 3 wide though, as they flick right towards the Mercedes arena, and the ever diligent Yusufa Vega trying to take it to Luca Engstler. He's done it, holding around the outside, but Engstler, does he get to the inside of the following corner? No, the run wasn't quite good enough, and now it's Retronic warfare, and they make contact.
So cars going wide off the track. Engstler coming back as well, and Kim Louis Schramm running side by side, and Kim Louis Schramm coming out on top of that one. Lucas Engstler dropping back, but the fight of the Audis at the back. Now the 69 car, Florian Spengler getting involved as well. He looks to the inside of Luca Engstler, but Kim Louis Schramm coming out on top of that particular battle. Marvin Dees to the background, as indeed is Simon Riker. Robin Rogowski has dropped back, but all the fighting going on up and down the pack. It is Mercedes, from Lamborghini, and Lamborghini, the highest Porsche in 6th place in the hands of Christian Engelhardt.
Unfortunately, Robin Rogowski has done more than drop back. He's in the pit lane, in the garage. So unfortunately, it seems like Seyfarth Motorsports' return was short-lived. In fact, he didn't even do a lap. I don't think he took the start. So unfortunately, Rogowski and co may have to wait and keep their powder dry for tomorrow.
So cars settling down a bit now. This is a 1-hour race, a timed race, so 60 minutes plus 1 lap. There is a mandatory pit stop that is required from all drivers as we look again at the start, and we can see that jump that Raffaele Marciello got. He really anticipated it well, and just looking cool, calm and collected. Christian Engelhardt, well, he knows how to win a championship. He's done it before, but back in the pack, and he just sees his main championship rival disappearing off into the distance. So this race has the mandatory stop. 25 minutes into the race, a window will open, a pit window that will open for 10 minutes, and during that 10 minutes, every car will need to visit the pit lane for a mandatory stop and driver change. We look again at that turn 1 moment for Christian Engelhardt going deep into, not turn 1, lap 1, into turn 6, going deep into that hairpin corner, and just a whole stream of cars coming through, and that was Luca Engstler going really deep into the corner. We were lucky we didn't have any contact there.
Oh, there was a little bit of contact there, I'm afraid, with the Allied Racing Porsche. Just a bit, just a kiss. Moi. Zimmerman and me's also having a moment there. Lots going on in the mid-pack as always, but realistically, what gave Marchiello the lead that he's now got isn't so much his lightning start, but it was Fabian Schiller going deep, stifling everyone else's turn into turn 2, and that's why Marchiello, by the hairpin, already had a good 4, 5, 6 car lengths, and now has a 1.3 second lead over Fabian Schiller. There is Schiller going deep into turn 2. As I mentioned, that stopped Costa Balboa from getting a good turn in, stopped everyone else in their tracks, and that was the cause of much applause down at Mansfield to Team Landgraf. Shockingly.
Yes. There is Jules Gounon looking on as well, and his co-driver Fabian Schiller. Jules Gounon, a real character. He'll be itching to get back behind the wheel. And Emil Frey, well, that just says it all, doesn't it? Shaking your head with the head in the hands. The incident between Luca Engstler and the 22 car Joe Sturm is under investigation. Joe Sturm, who has been in the wars in the last couple of races, he's probably fed up with talking to the stewards at the moment, but that is under investigation. Car 27 has been given a black and white flag for pushing another car, so that is Kim Louis Schramm, and a penalty lap for Luca Engstler. The penalty lap means that he will have to visit the penalty box, and that means that he will have to pass through a box that is off the racing line just out of turn 6 at no more than 50 kilometers an hour. And with the cars this close together, that will drop him back a number of positions. So penalty lap for Luca Engstler.
Yes, he's currently quite a way down anyway, isn't he, in the 15 car in 16th place. So I think realistically he's going to end up at the very back of the field. So Engstler's starts to this first race of 2 at the GT Masters season finale. Suboptimal, but still a long way to go.
It's Raffaele Marchiello who leads the way. It was 1.3 seconds the last time they crossed the start-finish line, but he is pulling further and further apart at Albert Costa Balboa with Konsta Lappalainen, his stablemate, behind him, and he is challenging as well. Now Christian Engelhardt coming under pressure from Max Paul. Max Paul makes it stick, so Engelhardt heading in the wrong direction down the pack because Paul has got through.
No, that's Rougier and Engelhardt side by side. So that was Lappalainen allowed Rougier through. So Lappalainen has now been overtaken by Engelhardt.
I beg your pardon.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. They're very similar blue Lamborghinis. I do it all the time. Engelhardt is up to 5th place. So what happened there? It was strange, actually. Lappalainen lifted out of the throttle before the hairpin, allowed Rougier by, but in the process, Engelhardt said, oh, I mean, if you're offering, and went past, moved up into 5th.
Should have gone to Specsavers. So Engelhardt is the man on a mission. Look at all these Lamborghinis, and they all look the same, don't they? So Rougier, a man on a mission as well. It's Christian Engelhardt doing what he can to get up towards the front, but Marchiello, all he needs to do is stay exactly where he is. I say all he needs to do, that's a fair old task, and of course he will be sharing the driving duties with Daniel Juncadella, who will take over after the pit window. But at the moment, Rougier, Engelhardt moving forwards, Lappalainen backwards, Max Paul still is at the back of that queue. Frankie Bird looking very sharp indeed, and he is behind Niklas Kruten, the highest of the BMWs, in 8th place. Joel Sturm, Nicky Katzberg in the 11th, and Tim Zimmerman in 12th. But look at that, almost all of the Audis bar one car stacked up at the back of the field.
Well, Luca Engstler was the highest placed Audi in 9th on the grid, is now all the way down in 19th and carrying damage. Safety car is out. We're yet to see a reason why, but the safety car hath been declared on the timing screen, and there is confirmation visually of the Audi R8 out onto the circuit. Another Audi R8, at least they have one at the front of the queue.
Yeah.
But safety car is out.
I'm wondering if it's debris out on the track, because all the cars look to be moving. So that big gap that was 1.459 seconds that Raffaele Marciello had built up is going to be reduced to nothing. Fabian Schiller will be on his back bumper, but we'll look for confirmation as to why the safety car is out. It is out at the moment, so the cars will be brought to single file, reduced speed, and whatever it is that is causing the problem will be sorted. But certainly can't see any cars that are static out on track, so I think it might just be debris that's out on the circuit. So with 49 minutes of this race remaining, plus one lap. The large crowd are being thoroughly entertained as they see Raffaele Marciello inching closer and closer to that championship. Now, just looking here, was there some debris there that we could see on the circuit? Hard to tell from the angle we're looking at it, but safety car out, and that will change the dynamic of this race. I can't imagine it will fluster Raffaele Marciello too much. To summarise, while we have a gap, it is Marciello ahead of Fabian Schiller. Albert Costa Balboa still holding on to that third place ahead of Arthur Rougier. Christian Engelhardt and Consta Lappalainen down in sixth place. Then it's Max Paul, Niklas Cruton, Frankie Bird and Joel Sturm rounding out the top 10. Nicky Gatsberg in 11th ahead of Tim Zimmerman, Thierry Vermeulen, Yusuf Vega, Kim Louis Schramm, Florian Spengler, Marvin Dean still a long way down in 17th place ahead of Simon Riker and Luca Exler, who served that penalty lap and is now at the back of the queue.
Of course, the most important parish announcement for Team Lello, his loyal supporters back home watching. Any podium position will net him the championship today, regardless of what happens for Christian Engelhardt. There is the debris, and that is, I believe, where we were looking at. Oh no, actually that's on the approach to the hairpin, and we did see a lot going on at the hairpin, so not necessarily the biggest surprise. It was offline, but it's good to take precautions, and here we go. So
safety car is going to be in on this lap. Always important to keep the debris off the circuit, because the car can cut a tyre so easily, and those walls, they're very, very solid. So safety first. Safety car is in, and very shortly we'll peel off into the pit lane, and it'll be down to Raffaele Marciello to dictate the pace. Fabian Schiller will want to anticipate it, but it looks to me like Marciello's on the gas nice and early. He wants to get on with it. So out of turn 17 to receive the green flag. We're back racing again, and it's Marciello who has got the jump. Okay, Fabian Schiller not really staying too close to him. Albert Costa Balboa crossing the line in third place, giving everybody further back a chance to close up and challenge for those positions. So into the first few corners we go, and Joel Sturm going wheel to wheel as well. So still positions up and down field. The number 20 car, Nicky Gatsberg, he's made good progress after a very poor qualifying position. That BMW looking very strong as he steams past Joel Sturm. Sturm doesn't really have a lot for him, so the mighty BMW up into 10th place as we head towards the hairpin under braking. We're looking at the view from Tim Zimmerman. On the outside of him is Yusuf Vega. Monteplas by land, Tim Zimmerman, and the number 29 car, Monteplas by land. What team? Running side by side, and it is Zimmerman who just holds on. Thierry Vermeulen there as well, looking to try and pick up a place. The 29 car of Yusuf Vega holding on to that position, taking a nice tight line into the corner. This is the view from Tim Zimmerman as he stares at the back of Vega. Still, the scrapping goes on. Thierry Vermeulen in there as well. Kim Louis Schramm. Behind them, it's Florian Spengler.
Yeah, Vermeulen not giving an inch of respite to Zimmerman as they make a little bit of contact down at turn 12 of the lap, turn 13 of the lap, I should say, and it's closer than close. There's a little bit of nibbling going on there.
So the view from Tim Zimmerman and Thierry Vermeulen, I have to say, since Zandvoort, which was his home race, he seems to have really come alive, and he has taken to GT Masters like the proverbial duck to water. He has been looking very racy, increasing increasingly racy as this season has progressed. We are looking, though, at the back part of the grid at the moment. The Audis are struggling. Just in the middle of them is the Mercedes of Marvin Dietz. Here is another replay of Vermeulen challenging Tim Zimmerman. Zimmerman giving him the squeeze on the exit of the corner. You see a little puff of blue smoke. The cars getting together, bouncing off each other. And yeah, Vermeulen bumping across the curb. And well, rubbing is racing. That's what they say, isn't it? Zimmerman and Vermeulen absolutely going at it, hammer and tongs. How much closer can you get? Well, not much closer, really. Vermeulen, he has really got his elbows out.
Valiant stuff from the driver of Valerie. Yes, they really do name their cars down at Land Motorsports, but it wasn't to be for Zimmerman on that occasion. Katzberg is flying, though. He is. Challenging now for 9th place on Frankie Bird, who's also ascended through the order mightily from a poor starting position. So it's Mercedes versus BMW, our two front-engined cars on the grid, line astern at the moment, in the scrap for 9th place, and they skittle out of Mobile 1, don't they? It is quite a sight to see them, let's say, making their own track limits.
When you look at Nicky Katzberg, he started 18th on the grid and he's now challenging for 9th place. We look again at Joel Sturm going wide and bouncing off Yusufa Vega. Sturm, who has come under a little bit of scrutiny from the race stewards, and after a very lively race at Lausitzring, there was certain clarification on what line drivers are and are not allowed to take whilst overtaking or being overtaken going into a corner. Now you can see there instant between car 91, which is Christian Engelhardt, and Arthur Rouget under investigation, and there is the 69 of Florian Spengler clearly in trouble. So Spengler looks like he is going to be pulling it up onto the infield, or certainly back into the pits. That investigation also had Max Paul involved in it as well. So the race stewards have got plenty to be looking at. The contact that was between Tim Zimmerman and Thierry Vermeulen also under investigation by the race stewards. But we're currently looking at Florian Spengler. The 69 car looks like they're going to be able to get that one to safety without a safety car. 43 minutes of this race remaining. We're about 8 minutes away from the pit window. You can see confirmation of all the incidents that are under investigation. Race stewards are always quite busy here at Hockenheimring.
Always, yes, forever and always. So then, Frankie Bird, I must say, is one of few drivers actually adhering to the black and white lines of the circuit through turn 11. He's trying to get some cookies, some brownie points for later on, perhaps. But sometimes that is the more efficient line. It may also prevent the car from getting unsettled on the curbs. There's the championship prediction.
So there are 53 points available after this race. You can see there that if things finish as they are now, Marciello will be uncatchable. The drivers will get 3 points for pole position tomorrow and 25 for a win. Marciello slowly taking hold of that trophy and drawing it to himself, but he still has another 42.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining before he can start getting too confident about that. He is in such a strong position. Fabian Schiller, well, last time across the line was 1.6 seconds behind. So Marciello once again stretching his legs at the front. He is looking mighty. Black and white flag has been awarded to Tim Zimmerman for pushing another car off the track. The black and white flag is a warning, but any more behaviour like that, and he is likely to pick up a penalty. This is the fight for second place that we are witnessing. Fabian Schiller, Albert Costa Balboa, another of the Emil Frey Racing Lamborghinis behind him, and then the only other car that is still in this championship, Christian Engelhardt, getting more and more frustrated at the back of the queue.
Yes, he is. And a reminder of the championship situation today. Engelhardt and Guven need to outscore Raffaele Marciello by 17 points. And that's the kind of thing they want to see more of, frankly. At the moment, Raffaele Marciello is set to outscore them by 14 points, thus netting the championship in mighty fashion. But if he keeps doing things like that, perhaps it doesn't feel quite so secure for the Manfilter Team Landgraf garage.
We've seen drivers do things like that before and break the suspension. They build them strong at Mercedes, but they're not made for rallycross. So Marciello, he's still doing all right at the moment. He's keeping it all going, pointing in the right direction, stretching his legs at 1.887 seconds. But anybody thinks that he's backing off and having a little Saturday afternoon drive, think again, because he is pushing. Let's have another look at that, getting two wheels right out onto the gravel. I'm not sure that was the quickest way around that corner, and it certainly wasn't the safest way round. Marciello, though, he just takes it all in his stride, doesn't he? Looking back from his car at the... Well, he just chucked a bit of dust in the face of Fabian Schiller. He says, I throw dust in your direction.
I knew he was a wacky racers kid growing up. Or maybe Mario Kart, that might be more of his generation. And mine, for that matter. Fabian Schiller, though. Okay. Fabian Schiller, as you alluded to earlier on, is the head of a mighty long queue with Albert Costa Balboa in car number 2 at the moment. And that 63 machine, the Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini, Aitken and Balboa have had a mixed year, I'd say. Overall, they've had some high points. They've always been there or thereabouts and been competitive, but they've had their fair share of misfortunes and just rough weekends as well. Certainly, I think Jack is not ruling out the opportunity to return next year, and we'd love to see that driver combination back in 2023.
We really would, wouldn't we? Yeah, that'd be absolutely brilliant, wouldn't it? So Marciello is still leading the way. Of course, one of the things that the things stay as they are, this also swings the weight in favour of Manfilter Team Landgraf in terms of the team championship, because of course they will be in front of Emil Frey. It is just the highest finishing car of that particular team that scored the points, and at the moment Albert Costa Balboa in 3rd place is not going to get the maximum points, obviously, because Marciello is leading the way. The obvious has now been stated. We are just under 4 minutes away from the pit stop window opening, and Marciello continues to lead the way.
Incident between cars number 8 and car number 69, Marvin Dienst and Florian Spengler, under investigation. Now, if that incident is why Florian Spengler's car suddenly had a puncture, that could be slam dunk. We'll have to see. We haven't seen anything actually on screen, but hold your breath if you're in the Drago ZVO camp, especially if you're wearing pink as opposed to green and white. They were at the highest of highs coming into this weekend after the win for Dienst and Marshalkowski in race 2 at Sachsenring. It's been a rough one so far, and of course they're carrying 20 kilos of ballast in the race owing to the victory last time out, and a penalty lap or a harsher penalty still would only compound what's proving to be a difficult afternoon at Hockenheim.
So things settling down at the moment. Marciello continuing to lead the way as he has done from the absolute start of this race from pole position. Fabian Schiller still holding on to that 2nd place. So it is a Mercedes 1-2, then Albert Costa Balboa and Arthur Rougier, both in Lamborghinis, and then the highest Porsche, Christian Engelhardt, ahead of 2 more Lamborghinis in the hands of Konsta Lapalainen and Max Paul. So very much as you were, but we are 2.5 minutes away from the pit window opening, and that is when things might change. There will be an element of strategy, and it might be that if a driver is running in traffic, the team will decide to bring the car in early and attempt to get them back out on some open track, thereby doing the undercut. As we ride on board with Niklas Kruten, the BMW's looking rapid. Katzberg still in that 10th place. Frankie Bird just ahead of him. And the sister car of Schubert Motorsport in 8th place with Niklas Kruten at the wheels. So Frankie Bird very much in a BMW sandwich.
Yeah, the M4 GT3 in its first season anywhere, but also in the first season in the hands of Schubert Motorsports here in ADAC GT Masters. Of course, they had that fabulous weekend at Red Bull Ring with a double win for Kruten and Green. At one time, this car was a championship contender in the early stages of the season. Of course, the form has dropped off slightly since then, getting to grips with the car in its first competitive season. I'm sure that Schubert will be back for more in 2023. An ever-strengthening BMW teams lineup in GT3 competition, of course. WRT has made the switch over, not just for GT3, but also for hypercar competition at the Le Mans 24 Hours. So the future is bright for the Bavarian Brutes.
And wouldn't we love to see WRT back on the GT Masters grid? Right, you can see the graphic there, the race laps for Wales and Africa. Well, Adam predicted this earlier. 40 grand has now been reached for every lap completed in the GT Masters. BWT and the ADAC are jointly donating €4 per car per lap, so it racks up very, very quickly. It's for the Be Water mission, which is providing clean drinking water in mainly rural areas of Gambia and Tanzania. A really, really worthy cause. Last year, the ADAC doubled the prize fund. No pressure, chaps, but you know, we could be staring down the barrel of 80 grand if you want to do that again. Anyway, moving on. 40 grand is what has been raised so far, and now Max Paul looks to the inside of Consta Lapalainen. Lamborghini versus Lamborghini, but still they carry on in the same order at the moment. But Max Paul looking very, very racy as he puts the pressure on. This is further back. We said that Nicky Kasberg was closing in on Frankie Bird, the other of the Yellow Mambas, and Nicky Kasberg, who has come from 18th on the grid, currently in 10th place, now challenging for 9th. The pit window is open. We have 10 minutes now in which every driver, every car must visit the pit lane for the mandatory stop and a driver change.
I must say, Max Paul has had an absolutely fabulous stint here. He's, of course, going to hand over to Marco Mappelli, who is one of the strongest drivers anywhere in the world in a Lamborghini GT3 car.
And a winner last year.
Yes, exactly right. Speaking of Lamborghinis, one of them into the pits. That was Lapalainen in the 14 car. Also in Thierry Vermeulen, also in Tim Zimmerman. So not too many takers, but the first of the 65-second pit stops are now being made.
So 65 seconds is the minimum pit stop time from pit entry to pit exit. The drivers do not want to go below that, because if they do, they will receive a penalty. Also, heavily regulated pit stops, only 2 team members allowed to work on the car, so the drivers very much helping each other in and out of the car. And we see that Tim Zimmerman jumps out. That's Marvin Dienst, who's handing over to Jan Marszalkowski, and Tim Zimmerman will be handing over to Christopher Mees, the outgoing champion, of course, the 2016 champion as well. And this is Consta Lapalainen handing over to Mick Viesover. He slams the door and walks away. Lapalainen, who has done a great job here in that car. Of course, they took a win at Zandvoort earlier on in the season, but Lapalainen, Viesover, great combination. Drivers ready. That was Daniel Juncadella, you saw, staring, waiting for the race leader, Raffaele Marciello, to come into the pits. I can't imagine Marciello's in any hurry at all to hand this over. He wants to stay in the seat for as long as possible. He's got an open track in front of him, and he is having a fantastic Saturday afternoon drive.
As of now, yes, absolutely has been charging at the front of the order, maintaining that gap to Fabian Schiller. It's been kind of knocking around the 1.2 to 1.6 second region for much of this stint. Not many takers for the pit lane, at least at the front of the order on this lap. Not any at the front of the order, it must be said. But see if anyone further back maybe comes in. Nonetheless, quite a few drivers comfortable in their seats and at least wanting to split the race halfway down the middle. Joel Sturm is the only driver to come in on this lap.
So you can see from your graphic on the screen, the dark green P means that they have pitted. The light grey P means that they are yet to pit. The countdown clock, well, that is the 65 seconds we talked about. Really good that we've got the championship leader and second of the championship highlighted in blue, so you can see where they are relative to each other. To remind you, at the risk of repeating ourselves, if things remain as they are, Marciello will clinch the championship with one race remaining, and tomorrow it really will be gloves off, because they'll just be running for the team championship. There is the challenger, Christian Engelhardt, all the way down in 5th place. He is frustrated. Arthur Rouget in front of him, and he can't find a route past. I would expect the Team U Sport Wagen Technique crew to maybe bring him in and try and get him out on some open track. I don't know. What do I know? Clearly not a lot. There's Nicky Kasberg taking a very wide line as he continues to monster Frankie Bird. Sven Muller has rejoined, now taken over from Joel Sturm, so that's the number 22 Team Allied Porsche. But there is Frankie Bird, 8th place on account of cars pitting in front. But of course, he will have to make a stop to hand over to Elias Seppänen.
Of course, the risk if they were to pit Engelhardt, as we see the 29 car in of Yusufo Vega, the risk if they did pit Engelhardt right now would be that he'd rejoin right around Mick Wieshofer. They were fairly close before the stop, and if you end up dueling with the Lamborghini on cold tyres, you're likely losing more time than he'd ever gain in the cleared traffic. Peggy Sue then in, another of the named cars from Land Motorsport.
My colleague, ladies and gentlemen, who knows the names of the cars. Oh, very good. Yeah, I told you I should have got a Specsavers, didn't I? So, the 29 car, it is all a change. Yusuf Vega, and it is Ricardo Feller who jumps into the seat. Great to have Ricardo Feller back on track. Of course, he has missed a couple of rounds, and we had Dries Vanthoor in last time around. Ricardo Feller, another of the outgoing champions, of course, in a different team to Christopher Mies this year. But neither of them will be the champion. It's going to be either Raffaele Marciello or Christian Engelhardt or Iron Chen Guven. But at the moment, advantaged Marciello by some considerable distance. And if he brings it home exactly where it is now, that will be that. Marciello from Schiller, Costa Balboa, Rougier, Engelhardt. That's the top 5. Still, though, the top 12 cars, the top 11, yet to pit. So on board with Christian Engelhardt, and you can see, looking back at him there, you see the concentration in his eyes, but frustration as well. He still can't find a route past the Lamborghini in front. He stays out for yet another lap. And the window open for another 4¼ minutes. And now Nicky Kasper ducks into the pit lane. He'll be handing over to Jesse Krohn. The Schubert Motorsport BMW has been very rapid. Of course, the last time we saw Nicky Katzberg, he was not a happy bunny, having missed the pit stop window completely and picked up a penalty that was so severe that Schubert Motorsport decided to park the car up and go home. Looking to make amends for that, and he's well within the window this time. The radio works this time.
I can imagine the conversation heading into this race being, right, should we run you towards the end of the window, Nicky? No.
Radio check, radio check.
Middle of the stint is fine, thank you very much.
It was great because after the last race that he was in at the Lausitz Ring, he said, I can't believe it. They can talk to a man on the moon, but they can't talk to me on the other side of the circuit. He was frustrated, and I think the door seal on that BMW was tested to the max because he didn't arse slam it. Anyway, the past is in the past. Nicky Kasberg has got that monkey off his back. The car is stationary. Now it bursts back into life, and it is Jesse Krohn, the Finnish driver, who takes control of the Schubert Motorsport BMW, keeping to the speed limit and out of the pit lane, and time that perfection almost. 0.3 of a second over, I'd say we'd allow them that, and he rejoins the race just in front of Ricardo Feller, the number 29 Audi.
Yeah, so we'll see what kind of pace Jesse Krohn has. Certainly Nicky Katzberg was up for charging through the order in that first stint of the race. I'm sure it would be a point of interest for Jesse Krohn and Nicky Katzberg to top the Cruton and Green car a couple of times this year. Cruton and Green both on the BMW Junior roster. Jesse Krohn and Nicky Katzberg, of course, well-regarded factory drivers on the main roster, as it were. Last thing they want to do is get beaten by developmental.
Yeah, well, I have to say, Nicholas Cruton and Ben Green have been consistently quicker most of the season. Right, that's the... I thought it was the leader. I did a little jump there. I thought it was the leader. That's the 84 car. So Frankie Bird is in. Here comes Elias Seppänen, another real up-and-coming talent. Both these drivers are real up-and-coming talents in GT3 racing. It's been great to welcome Frankie Bird to the series this year. Elias Seppänen, who we last saw in ADAC racing in Formula 4. He's graduated with much gusto, has taken to this exceptionally well, and he now jumps in behind the wheel of that car, the 27 car. That's Kim Louis Schramm handing over to Dennis Marshall. So Dennis Marshall taking over control of the Rutronic Racing Audi. Have we mentioned about Rutronic yet? I can't remember if you said it or not. Of course, no, Rutronic, big news on that. I'll let my colleague talk about that.
Yes, they announced it yesterday via the means of all news and information that is Instagram, that they will be moving into Porsche for 2023. Makes sense. They already have a pre-existing relationship with Porsche, and it's only growing for 2023. They'll run the new for 2023 992 generation Porsche for 2023 in ADAC GT Masters, and everyone running into the pits now because it's the last opportunity to make the stop within the window.
Yes, we all had memories of Nicky Katz, but then I thought, Marciello, he's not going to go past the pits, is he? Because that really would put a cat amongst the pigeons. But no, he's made the pit window, stays out to the last possible minute. You can see he's already unplugging things, getting ready to stop. He will jump out, and it's Daniel Juncadella who will be ready to jump into the seat, the Spanish driver who is teammate to Raffaele Marciello at the moment. Of course, Marciello was sharing with Jonathan Aberdeen earlier on in the season, and then Lorenzo Ferrari and Mauro Engel very briefly, but he and Daniel Juncadella, great friends, great teammates, have worked so well together. In comes second in the championship, Christian Engelhardt, who hands over to Ian Chen Guven, who was in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany last year and has taken to the ADAC GT Masters so well this year. Now jumps behind the wheel of that Porsche and he rejoins, but the depressing sight of his main championship rival, at least one car between him and the Juncadella car, and probably more once they rejoin the circuit.
Guven has, I think, inherited a position or two there, potentially. I think he's got ahead of one of the Emil Frey Lamborghinis that was behind previously, so that's very exciting for them. Everyone trying to find their way through. All of the Lamborghinis in the paddock are in one back.
We've got a new rule for next year. Can we not paint them all blue, please? It just confuses the commentators. So, all the blue Lamborghinis running together on the circuit. Marco Mapelli is taken over from Max Paul, is behind the wheel of the number 71 car. The rest of them are all Emil Frey, and they're all coming together into the hairpin, looking to the outside, and Marco Mapelli taking a much deeper line. He's not going to hold on to that position, surely. He goes wide out of the corner, looking back for Guven. Mapelli does take that position nicely, so Marco Mapelli holding on with the three Emil Frey Racing Lamborghinis behind. There's a bit of pride going on here. So it is Marco Mapelli ahead of Frank Pereira in the number 19 Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini. This is the view from Jack Aitken further back in that queue. He's taken over from Albert Costa Balboa.
And here's a look at the release for
that's
Aitken.
Why.
Yes. So there was a bit too much congestion on the M25. I mean the Hockenheim pit lane, and Aitken unfortunately losing places as a result of that. There's Danny Juncadella, I should say, and Jules Gounon behind him. So that's our top two heading into the closing stanza of the race. Third place for Christian Engelhardt. Now that's a good move up the order for them, but it's still not enough for the championship. I remind you, they need to outscore the 48 by 17 points, and currently that's nowhere near happening.
We saw in the pits how it is that Engelhardt managed to jump up the risk of an unsafe release for Jack Aitken. Now, interesting, because Jules Gounon is certainly staying with Daniel Juncadella. They are good friends. In fact, they are teammates in some classes, but at the moment, they are racing against each other. Jules Gounon will know that Daniel Juncadella cannot afford to put the car in the gravel. He will know that maybe Daniel Juncadella is not going to put up such a fight. So Jules Gounon will have that in the back of his mind. He will have a sniff of his fourth race win this year as we look at the points ramifications if the race finished now. To remind you, there are 28 points available after this race. Marciello would be champion if the race finished now. But I'm interested to see whether Jules Gounon is going to put the pressure on Daniel Juncadella, knowing that Juncadella cannot afford to have a non-finish.
In so many words, in the Friday press conference, Jules Gounon said, we're here to, try and get into the top three or stay in the top three of the championship. We're here to get good results and fight for the junior championship with Fabian Schiller, and should it be needed, we're here to help Mercedes take the ADAC GT Masters Drivers title. So I believe Jules Gounon is more than willing to play backstop for Juncker Deya and, of course, Raffaele Marciello, if that is what's called for.
Interesting. It doesn't look very backstop to me at the moment.
Yeah. That's what he says.
Right, well,
what he's doing
is closing in. So you tell me that Jules Gounon has a sniff of a race win. He's not going to take it. Jules Gounon is a winner. He's still a little bit sore over a poor decision that went against him at Indianapolis just a couple of weeks ago. Now he has a sniff of a race win. Daniel Juncker Deya up ahead, and now they head towards the corner. Is this looking into the hairpin? Under braking, and Gounon is going to put the pressure on Daniel Juncker Deya. Rear gunner, my foot.
I don't think Jules Gounon was lying. He said that if it was needed, he would be a backstop. But right now, both of them are more than able to fight each other and still have Raffaele Marciello claim the championship. Of course, that is if they keep it clean, which I'm sure is the emphasis being put on in both garages right now. Juncker Deya and Gounon on a scrap on a Saturday afternoon. Grandstand viewing, literally, for some of us.
I should think Marciello's out the back with his head in his hands, wondering about this. They are all three of them very good friends and indeed teammates in other categories. But at the moment, there is no love lost because Gounon wants to be a four-time winner this season. Jules Gounon and Fabien Schiller are the only drivers, apart from Nicolas Cruton and Ben Green, who have won more than one race this season. And he wants to make it four. Now, along the pit straight, out towards turn one. Is he going to duck to the inside? What is Juncker Deya going to do? They really can't afford to get together. But that is Jesse Krohn after all that hard work. From Nicky Katzberg to Schubert Motorsport. BMW is pointing in the wrong direction. He's got damage.
He's got a puncture by the looks of it. That car spinning out down at turn 13, and it looked like the right rear tyre was in less than optimal condition. Meanwhile, in the slipstream, Jules Gounon is going to challenge Daniel Juncker Deya.
And behind them, Iron Chen Guven is going, go on, give it a punt, go on into the hairpin. You know you want to, because he is willing them to get together. A race win for Iron Chen Guven and a non-finish for Daniel Juncker Deya would be Christmas, and it would take the championship to the next race. I don't think these two drivers are going to get together because they are so experienced, they are so wise, but this is a proper race that is going on. Race 13 of a 14 race season. It is Daniel Juncker Deya who took over from Raffaele Marciello in the yellow Mamba. That car has led the entire race, but Jules Gounon, who's taken over from Fabien Schiller, is putting the pressure on. Mercedes versus Mercedes, second in the championship. Iron Chen Guven, who's taken over from Christian Engelhardt, is behind. He is watching. We're looking at a replay, and that is Muller. Would say Mullering the number 27 car, the Dennis Marshall Audi. The two cars bouncing off each other, and Sven Muller squeezing in front, and that was for 13th place. You can see how close the racing is. Doesn't look like there's been any damage, but Sven Muller has that position.
They were still side by side going through the Mercedes arena, and now Marshall is ahead. Meanwhile, on the bulletin board, car 71, Marco Mappelli, must fall behind the 19 of Frank Pereira immediately. That's already taken place. Reason being that when we saw Mappelli get through into fourth place earlier on, he did so on the runoff area on the outside of the hairpin. I kind of saw that one coming. I didn't want to jinx it, but happily, I suppose, for my own well-being, the stewards saw it too, so that's helpful.
Your well-being is very important to all of us.
Sure.
Interesting, the message said immediately. Not in a couple of laps, but straight away, and they mean business. We don't want any protests, just get on and do it. So, Mappelli has all that work to do again. Jules Gounon still tracking Daniel Juncker Deya. We're pleased there's been nothing too reckless going on. Guven running a little bit on his own. Then this queue of Lamborghinis from Pereira, Marco Mappelli, Jack Aitken, Mick Viesover, all the Lamborghinis running together on the circuit. They're all blue and they're all running with each other. I'll get over it one day. And in 8th place, Ben Green in the BMW. He is still looking to secure that junior classification championship.
It's all blue in front of the Bavarian car then. 4 blue Lambos ahead of Ben Green, who has felt confident about the combination of he and the M4 GT3 this weekend. It's a circuit that has been proving to suit BMWs in all GT3 categories so far this year. Bit wide there from Danny Juncadella. Just glanced the gravel trap, and Jules Gounon may sense opportunity.
Jules Gounon, ever the opportunist, and that is the view back from Daniel Juncadella. They're clearly having fun. Raffaele Marciello is the only driver who can win the championship out of those 2 cars, because Daniel Juncadella only joined him as a co-driver in that particular car midway through the season. So Marciello is watching his fate being played out by 2 other drivers who are not in the championship hunt. Behind Ian Chen-Guven, continues to watch. He has the best view in the house. He'd probably rather not. That is the view of Jules Gounon, who had that back injury earlier on in the year. He says he's almost recovered. He's got 4 weeks off after this weekend. He's going to put his feet up, and he reckons he'll be fully recovered after that. He's lost none of his racecraft as he continues to pick up the slipstream from Danny Juncadella. Surely no overtaking opportunities into that corner, but maybe in a bit when they come back onto the pit straight, he might have another go into turn 1.
Quite possibly. I mean, turn 1 isn't the most obvious overtaking opportunity at this circuit. In fact, the very thought of it's making me clench a little bit. But it does seem as though Jules Gounon has good runs consistently out of the final corner. I'd say the primary overtaking zones here, turn 2, turn 6, that of course is the hairpin, yes, and turn 8, the Mercedes Arena. Jules Gounon, though, he's trying it at turn 16 and he's done it, but there's contact. Whoa. They're both off the circuit. Onto the slippery drag strip goes Danny Juncadella. He's still in second place, but hearts in the collective mouths of every supporter and team member at Manfilter Team Landgraf.
This is exactly what Raffaele Marciello didn't want, and the fact that Juncadella kept the car pointing in the right direction because of the slippery surface. But now look, Ian Chen-Guven here as well. Ian Chen-Guven has a sniff of this. It is Juncadella who's back in front. Gounon down to 3rd. Has he given that place up? But now Ian Chen-Guven challenging at the front.
Yeah, it was. Jules Gounon indicated. I think he was self-policing there. He knew he did wrong, but he's allowed Ian Chen-Guven through, and I'd suggest that's even more wrong as they go down to the hairpin. Oh no, Jules Gounon has a problem. He has damage.
He has, so he's coming to a stop, but look at this for the lead. Ian Chen-Guven second in the championship alongside Daniel Juncadella. Out of the hairpin they come. We've lost Jules Gounon, he's got damage, but now, who saw that coming? Ian Chen-Guven taking the lead of this race. Christian Engelhardt in the pits is applauding. So now Daniel Juncadella, having taken over from Raffaele Marciello, has all the work to do.
Ian Chen-Guven there with a full hand of opposite lock coming out of turn 11. It's critical to remind... Oh, that is Gounon again. Sorry, goodness me. Just to say, though, it's important we note at this point, Ian Chen-Guven, he's leading the race. That does not mean that Raffaele Marciello cannot win the championship. I remind you, Ian Chen-Guven and Christian Engelhardt need to outscore the 48 car by 17 points in this race. And as of now, that's not even close to happening. They'll outscore them by 5 points. Raffaele Marciello will still be champion, but Jules Gounon, I thought he was self-policing. I don't know whether he was or wasn't when he pulled over, but this thud right here was a puncture for Jules Gounon, and thankfully for Raffaele Marciello's sake, and possibly some of the walls around the garage, the 48 car appears to be in relatively good condition.
Well, I said they were good mates. I'm not sure the Christmas card list might take a bit of editing. That slippery surface on the right-hand side of your screen, I tried running on it last night, and it is like ice. There is no grip at all. And I'd say Juncadella did well to keep the car pointing in the right direction. It was a heck of a thump from Jules Gounon. And you can see in the eyes of Jules Gounon, he probably knows that he has probably not done his friends any favour at all. It was a big old thump. He is going to be out of the race. He has pulled up 17th place on the timing screens. Juncadella has lost the lead. The Manfilter team can barely look at the screens, and that is a replay of that puncture. The left rear of the Drago Racing Team ZVO Mercedes coming to a stop, and this was the ever opportunistic Ian Chen-Guven. Now, he has come into GT Masters this year. What great driving from the Porsche driver.
Yeah, Ian Guven always looked like a superstar in Porsche Super Cup and the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, and that's translated brilliantly to GT3 competition. It's unlikely, it's the ultimate outside shot right now that Guven and Engelhardt can even bring the title race into tomorrow, but they have had a fabulous season together with used Sportwagen technique, and I'm very surprised to see that they've sent the car back out there for Jules Gounon, but I think I know the justification. That, of course, is the team's championship. The two cars, the number 4 and the number 8, are registered as separate teams within the ADAC GT Masters here. A Crow getting a closer look. So maybe just hoping to get some points for the team's championship. He did, however, completely shortcut most of the circuit on the way back to pit lane by taking the drag strip. So I don't know if that's any kind of issue.
Well, we will find out, I have no doubt. We've only got 10 minutes of this race remaining. We've had no messages on timing screens. It's Ian Guven who leads the way from Daniel Juncadella. What a turn of events, and that queue of blue Lamborghinis is still lined up behind. Now, what is Juncadella going to do? Because he cannot afford to chuck this thing in the gravel trap. He needs to stay where he is. If he's going to challenge to the lead, he needs to make it stick. Ian Guven leading the way. Driver of the day in my book, because he has come through and he has just seized the opportunity. Daniel Juncadella in second from Pereira in the last of the podium positions, but behind him is Marco Mappelli, and that number 71 car has been reborn since it became Paul Motorsport halfway through the season. Of course, it took over from T3 Motorsport. We're looking at the Audi of Riccardo Fella sliding around the corner, 8th place at the moment. He is now looking at the back of the Ben Green car. Of course, Ben Green has the junior classification in his mind, so he doesn't want to be taking any unnecessary risks. I'm sure that Riccardo Fella has that well and truly in his mind.
Yeah, look at this, Chris Meese in the Audi. I'm sure Chris, so often the flag bearer for Audi GT3 competition, would love to get the car a little bit further up the grid, up the order before the end of this race. Running out of time to go join the Lamborghini squad, though. He's got to get around the big beamer of Ben Green and, sorry, Riccardo Fella, of course. I'm getting my Audis mixed up. As you said, it was Riccardo Fella. I just had a bit of a moment there. But Fella in the 29 car is hounding, as is Chris Meese, and down in 10th place, of course, is Elias Seppänen in the second of the Man Filter Mambas. The Mercedes have really fallen off in this one, haven't they? We've got two of them right down the bottom.
We have, and there is a Porsche leading the way, and I would not have been down the betting shop on that one. As a replay of, well, that really was a thump. Well, yeah. They said, was that, they said a little kiss as he came in the corner. It was a full-on snog, that was. That's the view from the side of the Yellow Mamba. The camera survived. I'm surprised the car did. And you could see him sliding very wide. Juncadella didn't give it a load of acceleration, because that would have turned him around. Hell of a job for Jules Gounon. I hope his back's all right after that. Less than 8.5 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining. Ian Guven leading the way after this incident. Good friends, Daniel Juncadella and Jules Gounon getting together, both in the Mercedes. It resulted in Gounon getting a puncture, and it resulted in Juncadella losing the lead. Ian Guven taking over, and still the Porsche leads the way. We keep looking at these replays. Every angle we look at it, the impact looks even harder. There we go. Once again, whoomph, there we go. And a big thump off into the runoff area and onto the drag strip. He rejoins, but Jules Gounon then has that puncture that drops him back. He is running in the 17th place at the moment, all very much on his own. Not a lot that he can do from there. He's just going to keep trucking on until the end of the race.
Only in ADAC GT Masters can we feel even slightly complacent with the fact that the top 6 are covered by less than 3 seconds currently in this race. It's always so close and so hard fought in this category, and Ian Guven must feel like he's riding a rocket right now. He is at the head of an order of aggressive, fast, world-class GT3 drivers, all of whom would love to claim a race win, some of whom have championship in mind. Of course, I remind you that as it stands, Marciello will claim this championship if things were to finish as they are. Ian Chen-Guven and Christian Engelhardt not quite doing enough for now. Well, in fact, they're doing everything they can do. It's just that Marciello and Yucadea are still in prime position. There is the championship prediction as it stands. 40 points clear Raffaele Marciello. There are 28 points to score tomorrow on the Sunday between the qualifying and the race. Costa Balbo and Aitken, of course, will move up to third in the championship, courtesy of the Gunon and Schiller dramas, or more specifically the Gunon-Yucadea dramas in the last few minutes of this race. So championship implications up and down the order. 6 minutes and 15 seconds left to go. And why do I get the feeling that we're still on the crest of a wave?
I really do. We've got a little over 6 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. This is not over. As Ian Chen-Guven is leading Daniel Yucadea, who's broken clear a little bit at the moment. The fight of the Lamborghinis goes on behind from Pereira, Marco Mappelli, Jack Aitken, Mick Wiesover, all running together. I have to say, Raffaele Marciello not looking so impressed. Christian Engelhardt looking quite chilled about it. They are just throwing caution to the wind. They've got nothing to lose. Marciello, well, it was looking like a top step. It could be the second step, but there is still time for it all to change because we still have a bit of time left in this race. This is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars all running together. The top 6 cars here on this race 13 of a 14 race season. We've lost Jesse Krohn, Florian Spengler and Robin Rogowski. Jules Gunon currently running in 17th place, having been at the front of this pack earlier on. But there is Daniel Yucadea, and it looks to me like he is falling back. Now, I wonder if he's got a problem because suddenly Frank Pereira is putting the heat on. Now, whether he's taking too much out of the tyres or, heaven forbid, where there is some damage that came from that impact with Jules Gunon.
I would heavily weigh towards the latter, but maybe that's just me being sympathetic. Let's hope that it's nothing more severe than that. It would be quite unfair for Raffaele if he wasn't even in the car when the dramas took place, but that's the way of racing sometimes. Meanwhile, Dennis Marshall, you saw him on screen side by side with Mattia Drudi at the hairpin earlier in this lap. Drudi has gotten, Marshall has gotten past Mattia Drudi. Drudi now under pressure from Sven Muller. That is down in 11th, 12th and 13th place.
This is team racing at its best. You can only win by being part of a team, but you can certainly lose by doing something on your own. And the 71-63, Jack Aitken, Marco Mappelli. Aitken has now got his eyes on that 4th place Lamborghini, challenging Lamborghini. These cars are so equal, but Marco Mappelli still holding on there. And of course, to remind you, Mappelli has the 5 kilo success penalty. It's not a great deal, but it will be enough just to slow him slightly. He's still holding off Jack Aitken. Aitken looks to the outside, but in so doing, Mick Wiesover sees an opportunity.
Goodness me, it's very close for comfort. It was too close for comfort there. A little nibble of contact and some blue paint exchange across the Paul Motorsport and Himmelfrey dividing line there. It was a bold move from Jack Aitken, I'll say that much. But they both live on to fight another day, and fighting I'm sure they are still doing as we look back at these replays. As you said, Mick Wiesover having a look as well to the inside. So easy to outbrake yourself when you're focusing on the car beside you rather than the braking boards, the braking markers. And now we have Mappelli still fighting off Aitken. But goodness me, this last few minutes has been pathetic. Positions 3 through 6 should really just be called the Lamborghini Super Carrera Germany for this race because they've been fighting as if their lives depend on it.
I'm not sure my ticker can take this. Now the 48 car, Daniel Yucadea. Can he hold on? Well, at the moment, Raffaele Marciello is less than 3 minutes plus 1 lap away from his first title in the ADAC GT Masters. 41,000 euros, 340, 50, 60. Well, keep it coming. That is the total going up in our race wells for Africa. We want to see that much, much higher. Let's hope we should run these races for 2 hours. That would really sort it out, wouldn't it? Now, Frank Pereira putting the heat on Daniel Juncadella. Juncadella cannot afford to take any more risks. I wonder if the Yellow Mamba is struggling. Pereira looks to sail past with relative ease, but now under braking. Juncadella into the tight hairpin, and it is Pereira who switches back to the inside and gets past the number 48 car of Daniel Juncadella. So Juncadella down another position. It doesn't matter in terms of the championship. I should think Juncadella is feeling that one though.
Yes, indeed. That does sting, I'm sure. A podium, regardless of what happens for Guven, would secure the championship for Marchiello still. But of course, as it stands, that car only needs to finish 8th place in order to be champion, or at least for Marchiello to be champion. But Juncadella under such pressure.
Oh, and here we go again. So another challenge for Daniel Juncadella. They want to take this championship till tomorrow. He can still do it from here. But the Emil Frey Racing crew, they have got the team championship very much in mind, because this will take them to the top of the team championship. So now, quickly doing your calculations, we're still in it, aren't we? Daniel Juncadella, Raffaele Marchiello, can he still win the championship from where he's at?
Yes, he can. Yes, it's 5th place for now. He's got to finish 8th or higher to claim this championship today as things stand.
So the Yellow Mamba clearly is ailing. He just needs to hold on for 50 seconds plus 1 lap. And Raffaele Marchiello, who is in the garage, no doubt, he can barely look at it, I should think. He's watching the car, clearly struggling in the hands of Daniel Juncadella. Juncadella now under pressure from Jack Aitken. If things finish as they are now, there will still be 31 points in it. To remind you, there are 28 points available tomorrow. But once again, it is Daniel Juncadella coming under pressure from Jack. No, it's not Jack Aitken, is it? It's the other Mick Wiesover, of course. Jack Aitken's in front. Blue Lamborghinis. So Daniel Juncadella, he is fed up with the sight of these Lamborghinis, but if he can hold on, the championship will still go to Raffaele Marchiello. The clock is 5 seconds away from 0. 3, 2, 1, 0. It will be plus 1 lap when they cross the line. And if things stay as they are, it will be Raffaele Marchiello who becomes the champion for 2022 in the ADAC GT Masters. In fact, he can't afford to let Mick Wiesover through. He cannot afford to end up in the gravel trap or having a non-finish.
However, counterpoint, they will want to see that car as high up the order as possible regards teams championship, although the Lamborghinis, the Emil Frey Lamborghinis ahead of or between the first of the cars, so the second and third Emil Frey Lamborghinis, if they were to finish ahead of the Landgraf car, wouldn't be counted in the team's championship. So really, to your point, actually no, there is no reason at all to keep Wiesover behind, and I'm sure Danny Juncadella is saying there's no reason at all to put me through all of this, Danny.
Yes, Daniel Juncadella, who started the season off as a teammate to Jan Marshalkowski in the number 8 Mercedes and moved across alongside Raffaele Marchiello. They have been a match made in heaven. Mick Wiesover, I had the pleasure of racing against him once in a go-kart. He knows what he's doing. He knows that Juncadella needs to bring that thing home. So he will be putting the heat on into the hairpin. Juncadella will block to a degree, but he cannot afford a non-finish. There's been a debris flying in front of them.
Mapelli and Aitken there were rubbing shoulders coming out of the hairpin. Mapelli desperate to hold on to this 3rd place, and for now he's doing so, and it's getting physical in the process. All eyes on the Manfield to Mamba car, which as it stands is just a few corners from championship glory, but there's fights up and down the order.
So Daniel Juncadella at the wheel of the Yellow Mamba, holding off under immense pressure from Mick Wiesover. He took the car over from Raffaele Marchiello, who put the car on pole position this morning with an excellent qualifying lap. Now in the closing stages of the final lap, Raffaele Marchiello's fate is in the hands of Daniel Juncadella. The Yellow Mamba in front of the number 14 Lamborghini. It's Guven who takes the win, but is it going to be Marchiello who takes the championship? It is! Raffaele Marchiello is the 2022 champion of the ADAC GT Masters. Jake Guven, Christian Engelhardt, they took it all the way to the line. They did everything that they could, but it was too much for the Yellow Mamba. Manfield to Team Landgraf celebrate Marciello is champion.
There's nothing harder than fighting from underneath, and that's exactly what Guven and Engelhardt attempted to do today. They literally did everything they possibly could short of pole position this morning in terms of scoring points. However, Raffaele Marciello, with the big assist at the tail end of the season from Daniel Juncadella, has been exemplary in recent times for Manfilter Team Landgraf. Mercedes claiming a championship win yet again, and Manfilter Team Landgraf champions along with Marciello. At points this year, I didn't think that would be something we'd say.
I really didn't either. Raffaele Marciello had a very difficult start to the season. Well, he had a few podiums, but then it all went downhill midway through the season. He got through teammates quicker than I get through socks, I have to tell you. But Daniel Juncadella was the marriage made in heaven. The end of this, though, Manfilter Team Landgraf will drop from the top of the team championship. It will be Emil Frey who will be leading the way in the team championship, so that will all be still to settle tomorrow. I haven't done the maths yet on the junior classification, but Ben Green came home in 7th place, and surely that must be enough. We have to do a little bit of multiplication to confirm that one, but the junior championship getting ever closer to Ben Green. The drivers, what an incredible drive from Ian Chen Guven, and he has a great mentor in Christian Engelhardt. And Guven and Engelhardt were your prediction at the start of the season as possible title contenders.
Yeah, I thought they'd be a bold dark horse pick, and they turned out not to be so bold at various points this year. Solid driving all season long from Guven and Engelhardt as in... actually, he's in English. Let's listen.
Thank you very much.
We just missed the interview there. I forgot briefly that Raffaele Marciello is an English speaker, not a German speaker. Apologies, we should have listened in on that.
Our colleague Toby Shimon doing the interview there.
Yes.
We should have known he'd have done it in English just for us, and we weren't even listening. The very tall Raffaele Marciello, he has had a great year, hasn't he? Adding yet another big trophy to the cabinet. The 2022 champion. He is the international German GT champion for this year, and a great job. Ian Chen Guven and Christian Engelhardt, they could not have done more. We think back to Zandvoort when the gearbox let go on the final corner of the race. We think back to all of the issues they had throughout the season. They came so close, but the might of Lello and the Yellow Mamba was just too much. But look at that. Ian Chen Guven, they're delighted with that race win. So deserved, cementing their position in 2nd place in the championship.
It's going to be anything but a mellow Lello this evening, I reckon. He's going to go out on the town and have some fun after a fabulous season. He likes to kick back with the girlfriend and the dog. He told us about that in the Friday press conference. He's a man of leisure on the off time. He had a rare weekend off ahead of this weekend, but clearly the time away from track and car did him a world of good, if anything. Certainly didn't do him any detriment, and a well-deserved champion he is. A well-deserved win as well for Guven and Engelhardt, win number 2 of their 2022 campaign, and we'll see what everyone can do. Of course, all the gloves will be off among the main championship contenders in tomorrow's race.
They certainly will be, because it's just go for it. You're looking there at the 3rd place, Marco Mappelli and Frank Pereira. We haven't really given them much of a mention, but they have in the 2nd place, should I say, not 3rd, because 3rd place is Marco Mappelli and Max Paul. Yes, the championship certainly swinging in the way of Emil Frey in terms of the team. Raffaele Marciello, I'd like to hear what he said to Daniel Juncadella at the moment. Something along the lines of, "You gave me a heart attack." Unfortunately, they won't be standing on the podium on this occasion together. They will get certainly Raffaele Marciello will get the customary jacket, and there is the ADAC blazer, the GT Masters blazer, that will be coming his way as part of his reward. A driver who has been bubbling under for so long. The name Raffaele Marciello has been coming up through the ranks for the last few years. His height has probably stopped him from having the career that he might have wanted in single-seater racing, but he's certainly made up for it in GT3. He loves ADAC GT Masters, and he is the new champion. He cannot be caught. 28 points available tomorrow, 31 points behind for Engelhardt and Guven, and they have cemented their place in second place in fine style.
Dodgy commentator Matheson coming. My understanding regards juniors was that Ben Green needed to score 7 points today in the junior championship to secure it, and he will have done with the result today. So I am 97% sure that he is now the junior champion as well. Right.
Oh, no, it's not in English.
They both speak Italian.
Yes, indeed. So
Max Paul can do hand gestures.
Raffaele Marciello, who is now registered as Swiss, in fact, but of Italian origin, and he will be greatly relieved, easy for me to say. Mid-season, you would not have had much money on him winning the championship, it has to be said. As already mentioned, he started off with Jonathan Aberdeen as his co-pilot. Then it was Lorenzo Ferrari who had one outing with him at Zandvoort, but Raffaele Marciello, he just wanted a teammate that he could click with. He teamed up with Mauro Engel at Nürburgring. That was a controversial race, we won't go there. Mauro Engel then disappeared off into the distance, and it was Daniel Juncadella who moved across from Drago Racing Team ZVO to sit alongside Raffaele Marciello, and that proved to be the winning formula.
So intriguing that 10 years ago to the weekend, those two were championship rivals. And today it's been Daniel Juncadella giving the big boost to Raffaele Marciello to get him up to the metaphorical treehouse that is the ADAC GT Masters Championship, the International German GT Championship. And it's been a long time coming. And it's good to see that Engelhardt and Guven relished this win in spite of the fact that the championship has slipped away from them. I think they knew coming into it that it was beyond a long shot, and they've had a great positive attitude in the garage all weekend, thinking, right, let's just make a good closer to this season.
Yeah, coming into this race, there were still 7 drivers in the championship hunt qualifying this morning, and narrowed that down to 3. But as you say, Christian Engelhardt and Ayhancan Guven, they knew that in reality the championship was done and dusted. Now the pressure really is off. We've still got the team championship to be decided tomorrow. But Raffaele Marciello, it's the first solo driver champion in ADAC GT Masters we've had for a while, because it's normally a duo. In fact, the last person to be a single driver to win the championship was Jules Gounon back in 2017. So quite poignant that he should be involved in the outcome of this race. But yes, so just one driver to be crowned champion this year. That man there, Raffaele Marciello. So let's take a little look at the classification after race 13 of a 14 race season. That was a bit brief, wasn't it? It was Ayhancan Guven and Christian Engelhardt, who won from Franck Pereira and Arthur Rouget. Marco Mapelli in the number 71 alongside Max Paul taking 3rd place. There you go, you can read the rest yourself. Few non-finishes though, the number 33, number 20, number 69 cars, and we don't think that the number 77 Safer Motorsport car even took the green flag, which is a real shame. I hope we're going to see them tomorrow as they guest in the ADAC GT Masters. Right, getting mic'd up. I don't know what celebrations we're going to get today. We often see a new champion getting crowned and getting all the pomp and all the rest of it, and it looks like they're getting him ready to wheel him up onto potentially the podium. It would be good to see him up there. Let's not take away from Ayhancan Guven and Christian Engelhardt though, who drove a brilliant race. They got that jump through a great strategic pit stop, and they then went wheel to wheel to take the lead in fine style. And Franck Pereira and Arthur Rouget, a good, solid 2nd place for them. And Marco Mapelli and Max Paul, yet another podium. They really are shaping up to be quite a combination. I'm excited to see what they get up to next year.
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many, both new and experienced driver duos that have emerged this year and have scintillated with their performances. You got to want to keep them all, all come back next year and all stay together. But so many new combinations that have proven stellar. I think none more so than Guven and Engelhardt, two drivers who came up through Porsche Cup competition and are now going into GT3 competition and doing a darn good job of it.
You think? Onto the podium they come then. Marco Mabelli and Max Paul, third place yet. Another podium for this great combination. The very experienced Franck Pereira and Arthur Rougier taking the second step of the podium. Another potent combination. Lamborghinis everywhere, certainly in second and third, but it's a Porsche that goes to the top step. The Team U Sport Wagen Technik Porsche, to be precise, in the hands of Einchen Guven and Christian Engelhardt. And we'll get a representative from U Sport Wagen Technik onto the podium, and now it's the national anthem. So the heat is off temporarily because we're going to come back and do it all again tomorrow. Can we cope with this kind of pressure? It's race 13 of the 14-race season. Great trophies being presented. Gert Enser from the ADAC presenting the winners' trophies to Einchen Guven and Christian Engelhardt. Kai Abel, who we saw giving the instructions to start the engines, presenting second place to Franck Pereira and Arthur Rougier, Emil Frey Racing, and the third place trophies. Here we go. Hans Werner, who will be presenting the third place trophies. And then one for the Team U Sport Wagen Technik. So the celebrations will start shortly. I'm not sure yet whether we're going to see Raffaele Marciello on the podium in this instant. We saw him being mic'd up, but that might just be for the press conference. At the moment, the photos are being taken for the 1, 2, 3. And those celebrations will commence. So, all smile under the sunshine here at the Hockenheimring of what was a thoroughly entertaining race, race 13 of the season. The celebrations start